Burnouts. The Heat are still on a losing streak, but that's only because they actually haven't played since last Tuesday. It feels like it's been forever since we've been able to watch a Heat basketball game, but tonight that changes. Tonight they play the Toronto Raptors, so we'll be giving a bit of a preview on that, but first, we'll be recapping the NBA Cup. For those of you who missed it, I'm truly sorry for your loss. Both those games were terrific, and the Thunder Spurs game in particular is an early contender for a game of the year. It was just wonderful wall to wall. Amazon also has done an amazing job at making the games feel big, making them feel special, and then the players actually going out there and really competing has helped cement that for sure. And for Heat fans, I mean, we know that Prime has Udonis Haslem on the show, which has been terrific. Chris Haynes actually even shouted out how well he's been doing and said that he could see Udonis Haslem being a coach one day with how he breaks down X's and O's. But then actually for the games, we had Wade on the broadcast. So it's just awesome overall for Heat fans and awesome overall for everyone, aside from some weird sound issues that Amazon's been having with the stream. But if you made it this far into the intro, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review. We'll get into all the fun stuff after this. So we're going to go in a bit of reverse order here. We're going to go with the most recent game from the NBA Cup, which was the Thunder Spurs, in which the Spurs won, but it was an incredibly close game. Honestly, the craziest part is in the first quarter, where Wemby did not play any minutes in the first quarter. He was on a minutes restriction for this game. It felt like the Spurs might have just been outmatched. The Thunder were up 31-20 on the Spurs. The Spurs were missing some pretty open shots. Harrison Barnes missed 3 of his open corner threes, which is very surprising for him. They call him Mr. 100. The Spurs went 0 for 9 from 3, and I wrote that note 4 minutes and 14 seconds left in the first quarter. So not great for them. And then the Thunder defense, of course, just overwhelming. They go on a 12-4 run to start, and then they start 12-4 from the field, and they go on a 7-0 run. Yeah, it's just rough. It was looking rough, at least for the Spurs. But honestly, everything changed when Wemby actually started playing. So they had him on a minutes restriction, and because of that, they didn't have him start the game. They wanted to make sure that he could end the game, which was a smart decision by their coaching staff to have him play that way. He had limited minutes in the second quarter, but in those limited minutes, he was spectacular. I mean, he had limited minutes in general. In 20 minutes, he was a plus 21 and had 22 points. He blocked Chet, which I always feel bad for these 7-footers who get blocked by Wemby because they're probably not used to anyone being able to get up that high, but Wemby is just a freak of nature. He did have 5 turnovers, Wemby did, but nonetheless, it was just a spectacular game from him. With those 5 turnovers, he was still a plus 21. I also want to mention, part of Amazon making these games feel special, they had a pre-game segment in which they interviewed Wemby, and he was in black and white. It was very cinematic. They also did this with Paolo before the Magic game. But in the Wemby one in particular, they kind of tried to drum up the rivalry between him and Chet, and he completely disregarded it in a kind of rude and dismissive way. I mean, Wemby's a fiery guy. I kind of like it on one hand, kind of don't like it on the other hand. I wish that I don't know. It was sly. I do see where he takes some insult to it, because he's like, why are you comparing me to Chet Holmgren? You should be comparing me to SGA. Obviously, the comparisons come because of the height, but he feels like he's an MVP candidate, so he's competing against the MVP. But he did have this quote that anyone can look good playing next to the MVP, playing next to Shea. So kind of disregarding Chet, talking about him as if he's just anyone and he just looks good because he's playing next to Shea. Yeah, but then he backed it up. He played spectacularly throughout the game. Not that Chet in particular had a bad game. Like when we look at Chet's line, let's see here. I was looking at just the second quarter a moment ago. But Chet, I mean, 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, not spectacular, but he did hit his free throws, 10 of 12 from the free throw line. So did good there, and he was a plus 18. So Chet wasn't necessarily playing poorly by any means. Excuse me as I take a sip right there. But nonetheless, Wemby kind of outplayed them. He was just, he was just ridiculous. This really was a game of the year. And before we get a little bit more into the game, I do want to mention how frustrating the internet is. Uh, there's so much discourse around this game, and it's been focused on like a couple of things. It's that one closeout foul that they called, where they closed out on Shea and Shea got free throws. Shea had 4 free throws this game. Shea was not getting to the free throw line anywhere near as much as he normally does. He did make all those 4. That was 2 of them, and that was late in the fourth quarter. When I saw the replay, at first and still to this point, like I wouldn't have been mad if it was a no call. It was definitely close. People are complaining about how he kicks his legs out a bit for the jump shot. But naturally, when you shoot jump shots, you swing your legs a little bit. You have your arms going forward, your legs swing forward a little bit. But his definitely swung out a little bit more. I've also seen the way that Shea can balance. So, like when people immediately jump to he wouldn't have been able to land, I don't know. He might have. But in general, this was from B-Ball Breakdown, but I don't think, and I agree with him on this take, I don't think that Shea would intentionally swing his legs out so far that he knows he's going to land on someone else's foot and risk messing up his ankles, because the reason for the closeout rule is to protect shooters and to protect them from landing on someone's foot and twisting their ankle. This is what happened. I mean, this was a reckless closeout, but that's what happened to Kawhi back in the day when the Warriors and Spurs were playing in that playoff series. There was a reckless closeout on him, got under his feet, and he got injured, and it was out. This was not reckless. They did review it to see if it was reckless, which I thought was way too far, just a regular common foul. But nonetheless, I don't know if Shea would intentionally try to injure himself for a foul, as much as you want to go with the foul free throw merchants. But regardless, that's one play that's getting a lot of discussion. There was also a lot of discussion about Caruso being upset that the refs missed a call, honestly, on his game-winning attempt with like a second left in the game after the on purpose missed free throw by J-Dub. And look, the commentary on that was around Caruso, you get so many calls, the refs don't call every time you reach in, yada, yada, which I get. But any competitive player in a competitive environment is going to be mad at that situation, regardless of how much they benefit from the whistle or how much they don't benefit from the whistle. You had a chance to win the game. You felt like they missed a call. You felt like, they didn't give you that opportunity. And again, Caruso had 5 fouls this game. It's not like he was getting away with everything. There was some clips of him stripping the ball from Wemby from a weird angle in which some people were saying he was definitely hacking him. Others were saying, the hand part of the ball rule. If you hit the ball and the hand, it doesn't really matter. Look, man, he's one of the best defenders in the league. This was even before he was on OKC. Fouling in general throughout the whole NBA is up. Every team fouls more than in a very long time. So because of this, teams like OKC that have really good defenders, while they do foul a lot, so they did get called for fouls. A lot of them, Caruso had 5, SGA had 4, a bunch of them had 3, Kayson Wallace had 4. While they do get called for fouls, sometimes they don't, because the refs can't call everything. It's like kind of a schemy thing the teams are doing to dare the refs to call every foul. But because of the quality of their defenders, some of those missed calls actually turn into steals and blocks and pokeaways. The Thunder just have better defenders. So everyone is fouling more. Everyone is trying to reach in more. Everyone is trying to attack the ball more. The Thunder just have more success with it because they have better defenders. There's not some conspiracy. And then last but not least, this one's the one that's really annoying. There was a clip circling around of Castle with the bloody nose and like messed up lip, and everyone's like, look at how the Thunder can get away with just hacking at players. And that just shows like that's the giveaway that none of those people watched the game. That happened actually from Wemby falling backwards and elbowing Castle in the face. It was completely accidental. Obviously Wemby's not trying to injure his own teammates, but people were pointing to that as if the Thunder were punching Castle in the face or something, but it was an accident with a teammate. But that's all the stupid internet stuff. We'll get to the actual game, which just to call it out, these guys, at least the Spurs, do not like the Thunder. Wemby does not like them. Wemby is ready for that matchup, and they play 2 more times in December. So in the next coming weeks, we will be seeing rematches of these 2 teams, which is very, very exciting if you're a basketball fan. And I saw this funny thing online. This is a cooler thing I saw online, that the crowd, in a neutral stadium like this, a lot of the time crowds go for the underdogs, unless in the case of like the Lakers have fans that travel anywhere, the New York Knicks have fans that travel everywhere. In this situation, it's safe to assume that not a ton of San Antonio and Thunder fans were traveling. It was a little bit maybe more neutral. And in neutral scenarios, they go for the underdog. And because of that, they were going for the Spurs, because how could they not? The Thunder were 24-1 up to this point. They were comparing it to David versus Goliath. But the more I kept thinking about that in a literal sense, yeah, sure, right now, the Thunder are the best team in the league. But Wemby, this is his return game, was spectacular. And like, really, he is Goliath. He is singularly Goliath. The more and more I watch him, the more I'm just thinking, if this guy can be healthy, and I've said this a million times on the record, off the record, I mean, he has GOAT potential, like just easily GOAT potential, just if he can stay healthy, if he can be on a winning team. Obviously, there's a lot of things that go into that, but his ability to shoot the ball, to defend the ball, to rebound, to read the defense, to handle the ball, to assist, to pass out. And this guy's still so young. He's what, 22, 20, he's 21. He's 21 years old. And he looked like a very, very good player out there. One of the best players on the floor, obviously, in the minutes that he was out there. It was just spectacular to watch him play basketball. Again, he had this one lob attempt. It was from an inbounds play from the baseline. Chet was guarding the, inbounder, but they just got it right to Wemby for an alley-oop just immediately, just an instant lob. And it's because if you can throw the pass correctly, nobody can get that high. He is really like, he's kind of cheat codes. It's pretty interesting. But nonetheless, I mean, even in that second quarter where he only played around 7 minutes, and they started out strong in some of those minutes, no bigs from the Thunder were out there on the court, which was very interesting. The Thunder were able to go on a 14-2 run at one point, go up 47-31, and they were playing really well. But then at that point, so they were 47-31. The Spurs go on a crazy run, on a 13-0 run with Wemby on the floor, and get the game close, 49-46. You can tell, and they said this on the broadcast too, so I'm not saying this is an original thought, but it's obvious. The defense of the Spurs just amps up so much more when Wemby's on the court, and not just because of what Wemby is doing, but because of what his teammates know he can do. They're able to play a little bit more aggressive, a little attack a little bit harder, close out harder, because they know if their guy gets past them, Wemby's guarding the paint. And it's obvious in the way that the Thunder play too, that you're always having that dangerous scenario in your mind. Like, I get past my guy, and now what? Wemby's contesting me for, if I try to get a floater, if I try to get a layup around him, it's tough. I mean, and then on offense, obviously he's a mismatch for almost anyone. The Thunder did a bunch of trying to put smaller guys on him, which they did a decent job of. At one point, they triple teamed him to get the ball out of his hands. But yeah, he was just a force of nature on there, and you could tell there's some figuring out they had to do. On that 13-0 run, Wemby sealed that with a near logo three to end the quarter. Like, this guy's hitting almost logo threes, and he's 7'5", 7'6", whatever he is. There was also in the second quarter, which was crazy to see, Vassell guarding SGA one-on-one was able to block him, just straight up block him on a midi. I mean, I watch a lot of Thunder games for an East Coast guy. There's definitely people who have watched more than me, but for an East Coast guy, I'm up there. I watch a ton of Thunder games, and that you don't see that. You don't see SGA get blocked one-on-one, maybe on a help defender sneaking by, and even that is rare. But they were able to block him, and that just goes to show too the defense again on the wings. Whether it's because of the confidence in having Wemby, but even in some of the minutes without him, Vassell and Castle were just doing a spectacular job staying in front of Shea, kind of keeping him from getting to his spots. Shea was able to extend his streak of 20-point games. So he's at 97 games in a row. Little note here, Tyler Hero is next on that list with 16 games in a row, just to show how insane this is. But nonetheless, Shea had 5 turnovers, which is also very rare for him. It's one of the most powerful things about Shea's game is that for his usage rate, he almost never has turnovers, and he had 5. So that was spectacular just on their defense. And also, he went 1 of 7 from 3, and that's not because of unluck. Some of those, sure, maybe a little bit of unluck, but a lot of it was forced. He was kind of didn't know where to go, didn't know what to do, shot up a 3, put it up in the air. I was listening to the Thinking Basketball podcast today, and they were mentioning, which is a good point, that while Shea is fast, he's one of the faster NBA players, while Shea is crafty, all these things, a lot of his game is kind of like outsmarting the opponent when they're defending him. And it seemed like this is a puzzle he hasn't solved yet. The Spurs, especially Spurs with Wemby. Seems like he needs to go to the drawing board and think about this a little bit and how he wants to attack this. And that goes for really the whole Thunder team. In general, the Thunder were kind of cold from three. They shot 9 of 37. That's 24%. Aaron Wiggins, 0 4. Kayson Wallace, 1 for 5. Jalen Williams, 1 for 3. Caruso, 1 for 3. Dort, 1 for 6. J Dub actually was 2 for 5, but he was 5 of 16 from the field. So not necessarily the best Dub game. He did have some good steals, 4 steals for J-Dub with only 2 fouls and 2 turnovers. I mean, he was playing all right. Defense for J-Dub is never an issue, but the shooting was cold. And when the shooting gets cold, you allow the other team to really get into the game. The Spurs themselves shot not spectacularly, but better, 31% from three. They made 13 of them. So this wasn't really a big 3-point game. It was a lot of attacking the paint. And man, yeah, it really was just the third quarter, a lot of trading punches back and forth. There was some beautiful plays by Castle. He had a beautiful finish around the rim, which made me think even more to slightly deviate and change subjects. There's been reports that the Spurs are like getting less and less interested in trading for Giannis. And when I was first reading about them, I was like, what are they doing, man? You have a chance to pair Giannis with Wemby, but their young guys are really, really good. And like, why accelerate the timeline? I don't know. Just keep building with what you've got and keep your war chest loaded, keep those picks loaded. You've got young guys. Wemby's still gonna need at least another, like, as good as he is, as great as he is, I can't imagine him going to the finals in his first playoff run. There's gonna be growing pains. So when you trade for an older player that's had some injuries in Giannis, you're trying to go to the finals now. You're trying to win in the next 3 years. And we don't necessarily know. I mean, not to say I'd be surprised at all if next year the Spurs are in the finals, but you don't necessarily need to accelerate it. You have these young players who are really, really good, who play at a different size and position than Wemby, so they kind of cover a different space. Not that, the defense would be insane to see Giannis and Wemby on the court, but I don't know. I see it. I could see it. Even Dylan Harper, who didn't shoot well this game, he looked good out there. He was, for him being 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 5 from three, he was still a plus 0 in this game. So obviously not great. You want your players to be higher than a 0, but other players played much worse than him or had much worse, plus minuses, and he's playing against one of the best teams out there. He's a rookie, and no, he looked good. Like, I didn't come away unimpressed by him. I was actually surprised when I looked at the stats to see how poorly he shot, because I liked his game. I like his game. Stephon Castle's game is spectacular. I mean, De'Aaron Fox played pretty well for them as well. He's been really clutch for them, just kind of steadies them and is helping them learn and grow. And Devin Vassell also has been spectacular. So, yeah, I kind of see the reason why maybe they would just chill and not make a move necessarily just yet. But really, it came down to, in the fourth quarter, it was a really, really close game. Shea kind of went crazy for a little stretch there and was able to, just have some Shea plays. He went on his own little run. He got through at like near the end of the game. There was like under 2 minutes left. And he was able to like run to the line. There's under a minute left, I believe. Just run past Spurs defenders and get there for a dunk, which was insane to, split it. He had a play where he split the double. And it was so off balance that he fell. But before he fell, he was able to get the ball to Chet. Chet got fouled. It was 105, 103. And yeah, it was just, he played really well. There was one thing there where J-Dub was in a position where he had to miss a free throw, and he couldn't on purpose miss it. The second time he got to the line, he did on purpose miss one, but it wasn't good enough. That's the one where Caruso was complaining about the missed foul call nonetheless. But it was it reminded me of that skill that Cade Cunningham has, where he's done this a couple of times in games. He did one recently this year where he misses the free throw on purpose and he just beams it off the rim and it bounces right back to him. It's beautiful. If you haven't seen this, I mean, I'll probably clip it with this if I do clip this. it's a great talent to have. I don't know how practiced that is, how like what percent you can get in doing that right. Because if you do it wrong, you're either throwing it out of bounds or either the ball's just rimming straight down. There's a lot of room for error there. But if you could do that consistently, I mean, what better way to miss a free throw than to ensure it's right back in your hands with the speed and force that it gets back to him. But yeah, I mean, just an incredible game. My really only complaint about this game is the idea, and it makes sense that teams now, when they're up, they foul. If you're up 3, you foul. You don't give the opponent a chance to make a 3. You just force them to shoot 2 free throws, hope they miss one. They're going to foul you to run down the clock as well, so it just becomes into a free throw competition. I would love for the NBA to figure out a way to legislate this out. Like I get why teams are doing it and the reason for it. It makes the game a little bit more boring. And I wouldn't want to get it to a point where you take away the idea for teams that are down to foul and stop the clock, because you want teams to be able to make a comeback. There's so many exciting games we've seen where in the last 15 seconds, they fouled, team shoots free throws, they miss one, now this team's inbounding and they get a crazy shot. Like, those are fun. That's exciting. I don't hate that. But then you're encouraging the team that's down and the team that's up to foul. And I don't love that. It just turns into a free throw competition. I don't know how to caveat it. If the team that's up fouls, when they foul, the team that's down gets free throw and possession. Maybe it's only one free throw in possession. I don't know. I don't know how you do it, but I would love for that to be legislated out of the game. Free throws are not fun. They're obviously a part of the game, but there has to be a better way to have games end than on both teams fouling each other repeatedly. Uh, it makes the game a little bit more gross. So I'm hoping that they can look into that and figure out a way. This fouling up 3 thing has been a conversation point for a long time, but I think it's now becoming more forefront in terms of teams really going for it. But again, overall, I mean, this was game of the year contender. Really, really good. I'm excited to see the NBA Cup Finals, but we'll talk a bit about that once we preview the Knicks Magic, which we'll get into right after this. Knicks Magic. So this was the earlier game. We're going a little bit backwards in time. Also a very, very fun game. Not as close once we got to the fourth quarter, or once we got to the second half, really. But we'll start with the first half, of course. We're not going to go super backwards. But the game was super close in the first quarter. Magic actually ended the first quarter with a lead. Both teams were shooting over 60% from the field to start this game, which, I mean, you're obviously not going to want. I even had this note down that, I mean, the Magic are a defense first team, really. And if you're going to play a close game, fist fight with the Knicks, I'm just going to trust the team that has Jalen Brunson on it. That's my feeling in that scenario. He is just one of the best clutch guys and just singular forces of nature there is in the league. So I didn't necessarily love that feeling from the beginning, even though the Magic were scoring very well. I mean, they ended the quarter 33-36, Magic up. That's a very high scoring first half. It was just back and forth, back and forth. Even with that, it was still like some good defensive plays, but when they got defense, it was running up and down the court, just running so fast. And then going into the second quarter here, that's where the Knicks, they took their lead. They ended the second quarter 71-64. Their offense just continued to fire on all cylinders, where the Magic offense, still doing well. Magic offense was doing great, just not as great. Again, like I said, if you're getting into a fist fight with the Knicks, just offense v offense, it's going to be tough, especially for this Orlando Magic team. I do want to shout out, Jalen Suggs was just spectacular in this game. In the first half, we'll talk a little bit about the second half. Jalen Suggs was 10 of 16. He was only 2 of 8 from 3. I think one or two of those was in the second half where he wasn't looking all that great, but he had 7 assists. He was a plus 26. It's a team high plus minus for the team. Sorry, I'm lying to you. He had 26 points. He was a plus 8, which was a team high plus 8 for a team that lost by 12 there. So Jalen Suggs was just awesome. Desmond Bane, I mean, he didn't shoot the lights out, but he played very well. 7 of 17, 2 of 4 from 3, had 18 points in this game, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, just playing really well. And then it was a tale of two halves, really, in terms of everyone. Paolo Banchero in the first half was you could tell he's still figuring out how to ease back into this team and into this offense, especially as they were firing on all cylinders with Wagner, and then Wagner went out, and now he's in without Wagner, so he's like figuring out his flow. I mean, Paolo is so interesting because I love him when he attacks, and I hate him when he settles for long middies and threes. He took 7 threes this game and 2 long middies. He went 0 for 9 on those shots. 2 of those I think were corner threes, which I mean, you take corner threes, but also as a Heat fan, I was upset. And now you want to miss your threes. You hit a couple against us the other night, but regardless, I mean, he had 25 points, but 17 of those were in the second half. And that's, I think, because partly he was shooting a little bit less threes, a little bit less long middies in the second half. Uh, he played well, but the game was already kind of getting out of hand when that was happening. And then the biggest story to me for the second half was that Suggs' injury. He's been dealing with a lot of like muscle injuries. They interviewed him at halftime, and he was wrapped up like a mummy, just full of like, tape and shit everywhere and ice. He said to the interviewer that he was good. He, in fact, was not. He just did not look himself in the second half, and there was a point in the fourth quarter where they checked him in, and he immediately kind of signaled to be checked out. He needed to get out of the game. That's where he missed at least one of those threes, where he was open, the ball found him, and he shot it, but he did not want to be out there. So I mean, I feel for the Magic because Suggs has been playing really, really well for them. Honestly, he's been one of their best players, and to have him injured, to not have Wagner in this game, you're just, they're not going to have a chance with Suggs not being able to play. It just wasn't going to be a chance there. He did still play 29 minutes in the game, but some of those minutes at the end were not worthwhile because he just wasn't himself. He played 10-40 in the second half. He went 0 for 1 from 3, 1 of 3 from the free throw line. Just, wasn't necessarily looking all that great out there when he was playing in the second half. So sucks for them. I do want to give kudos to the Knicks though, because I mean, really, they got some good players, man. Their starters, Josh Hart, OG, Cat, McCall, Jalen Brunson, obviously. And then even like, of course, Mitchell Robinson, but Jordan Clarkson and Tyler Kolek gave them good minutes. Brunson had 40 points this game. He's just a machine, but McCall had 16, Karl Anthony Towns had 29, OG had 24, Josh Hart had 12, Josh Hart had 3 steals, OG had 3 steals. They're just nonstop. They're a tough team, man. Like defensively, I mean, Cat's never going to be the best defensive player, but he had some okay plays here. But with Josh Hart, OG, and McCall out there, and then when you're putting Mitchell Robinson in for minutes, those are great minutes of defense. Again, despite Jalen Brunson, who also he was doing an okay job at trying to stay in front of his guy this game. I will say, wasn't like terrible by any means. I'm sure there was some plays I'm forgetting about where he maybe lost his man, but nonetheless, Jalen Brunson, I mean, 8 assists with a 40-point game is just nuts. And a shout out to Mike Brown for just running those plays that are getting the other starters involved. Every time there was a fast break, like I felt like Bridges was just on the wing and just running, and the ball would find him really well. Josh Hart had some beautiful passes. There was like this bounce pass through traffic that Josh Hart had. Just an underrated player too. He had 6 assists. Just really, really good out there. And yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaways, again, also, the Knicks scored 132 points and they only made 7 threes. They took 20. So just goes to show how great they are at scoring in transition and scoring in the paint. But my biggest takeaways from this is I don't know how either of these teams are going to match up against the Spurs. We're going to see the Knicks now do it on Tuesday against the Spurs. We'll see how that goes. I'm very, very curious, especially if Wemby is still limited in minutes or playing a little bit more, and how that works, and how Brunson can maybe take advantage of these younger defenders in a way that SGA normally does too. Or maybe they give him the same trouble they were giving SGA. We'll see about that and how that works. But I mean, I'm taking the Spurs in this matchup personally. And then also, the Magic, and this is a big if they can ever be fully healthy, if they can have Wagner out there, if Suggs can be actually healthy, they can be a scary team. I mean, I had them as a top team in the East earlier in the season, assuming health. Not that, I don't know what the standings will shake out because of these injuries, but they have good guys. They have good players. So I'm impressed by the Magic. I'm impressed by the Knicks in this game, truly. But I just don't know if it'll mean anything. against the Western Conference that just looks stacked up like they're just insane. These smaller guys in Paolo and Desmond Bain, even well, Desmond Bain's obviously in the Magic, but going through the list, like, I mean, Josh Hart's feisty. I think he could defend anyone, play against anyone, but it's going to be tough for Brunson. OG is very strong. McCall's long. I don't know. Maybe the Knicks are a good matchup for them defensively. Maybe they are, but just because of their length and their strength and their vet savviness coming into it, I think it's definitely a better matchup than the Magic, especially with injuries against the Spurs. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. I am excited to watch the game because I know they're gonna try, and I like Brunson when the lights are bright. Cat continues to impress me on the offensive end. 2 of 4 from three, 9 of 11 from the field. He had some wonderful drives where, they try to take away his three a little too hard, and then he just drives baseline and gets dunks or gets fouled. So I want to see how he fares against Wemby and if he can muscle him a little bit. There was a lot of bully ball plays from Cat on Wendell Carter Jr., who's a bigger body than Wembanyama in terms of like weight, I imagine. But obviously in terms of height, Wemby just is. That's the thing. You can push Wemby off his spot defensively, but his arms are so long, his recovery speed is so fast, his agility that he gets back. So I don't know how the bully ball game will work against Wemby. I don't know if you're going to beat the Spurs team relying on points in the paint, like scoring as many as the Knicks did. I don't think you're going to get how many points in the paint did they have in this game? They had 70. I don't know if you're going to get 70 points on the paint against the Spurs if Wemby is playing 25 minutes, 20 minutes even. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited for it. I think everyone should be excited for it. It's Tuesday. It's on Amazon. If you don't have Prime, somebody who's Prime. I definitely highly recommend that everybody watches this game. But we'll move on from this. Quicker recap on this one. It wasn't the game of the year, but still a good game. We'll preview some Heat Raptors right after this. And now for some Heat Raptors talk. Yes, two red teams playing against each other. Two teams that were once atop the East that are no longer atop the East. But I do think it's so funny when people are like watching these standings in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. It's just not worth it unless you're pointing out how ahead someone is. Like, even the Pistons are only 2 games ahead of the Knicks, and then 5 games ahead of the rest of the league. But, right now the Heat are in 6th. The Raptors are in 5th. The Heat are 6 games back from first. The Raptors are 5.5 games back from first. The Celtics, which are in 3rd, 5 games back. All these teams are like within a game of each other. And the Hawks that are in 9th are 6 games back. So 3 through 9 is pretty much a hogwash right now in the East in terms of standings. I don't know why people are looking at this so much. When you get under that, the Bucks are 10 games back. The Bulls very much fell off. Unfortunately, they're 10 games back. I remember I was excited about saying that it's more fun when the Bulls are good. Well, I guess it's less fun right now. And then, the dregs of the East are a little bit further back, even though the Nets are on like a little streak right now. But regardless, focusing on this game, both these teams have been off since Tuesday, so they're both very rested. We'll see if there's any rust that comes with that. I know obviously it takes time for practice, and for the Heat, and maybe even for the Raptors, who both in the last 2 weeks have been playing terribly. In the last 2 weeks, the Heat have been 22nd in offense, 13th in defense. In the last 2 weeks, the Raptors are 24th in offense, 26th in defense. So maybe some practice time for both these teams is good, because overall, the Heat are 12th in offense, 4th in defense. Overall, the Raptors are 10th in offense, 7th in defense. So overall better, but recently playing worse. So maybe this practice time will do some good for us. I did appreciate in some of these practice interviews that have come out, Spo and the team in general have been defending all these misguided takes about Tyler and his fit in this offense, and just kind of saying that has nothing to do with Tyler. He's been playing pretty well. It just takes time for it to work. We haven't even had a lot of fully healthy games. I think we've had 2 where the team is fully healthy. There's been a lot of commentary about where needing to start, and, maybe we'll see. I just don't know who you sit, because Wiggs has been great defensively. Davion Mitchell has been great in so many ways. And then the minutes with Bam and Ware right now haven't been great, even though they were better last season. And some of this might be luck. Right now, opponents are shooting 42% from 3 against Bam and Ware lineups. Is that luck? Is that being slow to close out? I don't know. Bam plus Ware are forcing 13% opponent turnovers. Bam without Ware is forcing 16% opponent turnovers. So it's small, small difference there, but one or two more turnovers gets you out in transition more. We've lost some of these close games. It changes the way the game plays. So there's just some stuff there that needs to be ironed out. I do want to see more Ware minutes. I want to see a Ware bounce back, whether it's now against the Raptors or in the upcoming road trip we have starting Thursday against the Nets, the Celtics, and the Knicks, which I had an oopsie and talked about these games as they were upcoming last week because I misread the schedule and couldn't believe that, I read that the Heat were playing the Nets on Thursday and the Heat had just played on Tuesday. So I assumed it was that Thursday. But no, it's this one, the one that's coming up. So apologies on that. And then the Raptors game got added because we're the two teams that didn't make the cup. So we will be playing them. Some other things. This was from Cooper Moorhead, which is the manager of basketball content with the Heat. He has really good stuff on X if you haven't seen, and just in general on YouTube as well. Just good Heat related stuff if you're looking for some Heat content. These are quotes directly from an article he posted very recently. It's, I think, in his Cooper's notes, Coop's takeaways, I believe. Yeah. The shot quality numbers per Genius Sports remain generally favorable. Miami's half-court shot quality on their own threes is number 18 in the league, so not spectacular. But defensively, we're allowing the toughest threes in the league. So the defense is allowing only very tough threes. But right now, teams are making some of them. And that's what happens with, when you scheme to allow threes, even if it's on players who maybe shouldn't be shooting threes, or maybe it's on a tough three at the end of the shot clock, sometimes they make it when you go in these stretches. So that's affected us. And then another one from his notes that was very interesting. With Bam on the floor, they have had what would be the best defensive rebounding percentage in the league. Without Bam on the floor, we're collecting just 63.3% of opponent misses. That's not great. That would be the lowest mark in the league since 1997-98. This is from Cooper Moorhead again. So those numbers, and Bam kind of talked about it. You cut that in half. So if, let's say we're allowing 5 or 6 offensive rebounds in the minutes that he's not playing, you cut that to 2 or 3. We're in a much better spot, but we just need to clean it up a little bit. But with Bam, none of those issues are really existing right now. As we look at the matchup, of course, I'm going to say I favor the Heat. I think the Heat are a better team. I think we've had some just bad stretches right now for maybe a little bit longer than the Raptors have had bad stretches. We'll see how it shoots out. The Raptors foul a lot on defense and they don't draw a lot of fouls. Good for us as, we have some guys who are pretty good at drawing fouls on the team. They're bottom 5 in threes in terms of frequency. So they don't shoot a lot of threes. So a lot of getting in transition and trying to score in the paint, score close range. They're top 10 in mid frequency and at rim frequency. They are, when they do get those corner threes, they're top 10. I'm sorry, when they're shooting threes from the top of the arc, they're top 10 in makes there in terms of percent. They don't shoot great from corner threes. And they're also top 10 in their percent from long mid, which makes sense when you have a team with Brandon Ingram on it. They make some good long middies. But if it's a 2-point shootout, I kind of like the Heat's chances here. It takes away some of that fluctuation we were just talking about in terms of teams getting hot and making threes they maybe don't normally make and making the game a little bit harder. They are one of the top teams in getting out in transition and playing in transition, but they don't score a ton in terms of converting those transition plays into scores percentage-wise. Percentage-wise, some of those end up becoming half-court plays. They're actually top 1 in both half-court play frequency and in transition play frequency. But that's because they're missing shots. They're getting some offensive rebounds. They're not turning those into putbacks. They're getting half-court possessions out of that. But because of this transition frequency and the way they like to get out and run, they do this both off rebounds and off steals. They're top 10 in steals. They do get a decent amount of offensive rebounds. They're a top 8 team in points in the paint. They're a top 1 team in fast break points. They also allow fast break points at a top 3 rate. So it's just a lot of running back and forth, even though their pace isn't that high, surprisingly. And again, I guess that's because what I just mentioned, if they're missing some of these transition buckets, even though they're getting in transition out all the time, then they're end up playing these half-court possessions that take a little bit longer. In terms of their defense, I'm surprised their defense is ranked as high as it is because they allow a lot of rim attempts and allow a lot of corner threes, which is usually what you don't want teams to have. You want to try to prevent corner threes and prevent rim attempts. Those are like the 2 sweet spots on the court. So that's confusing. Teams haven't shot well against them from three, despite them allowing it. There's definitely some luck there. They allow a decent amount of wide open threes. I think they're like a top six team in allowing wide open threes, and teams are only shooting 38% on those. They do force a lot of late shot clock from three, though. So I'm wondering whose hands that ends up in. We'll see in terms of when we play them. And they're top six in allowing open threes, not wide open. And opponents only shooting 29.9% on those. And last but not least, with this Toronto team, they do have a really good transition defense, which isn't good for us, for the Heat, because of the fact that, we like to get out into transition and try to score from there. Even though we are deceptively good in the half court, at least we have been and were when we were playing a little bit better. But we also have a similar situation with the Toronto Raptors, in which we get out in transition a lot, don't necessarily convert all of those buckets, but still getting out in transition pretty often, and then sometimes ending up in a half court situation, which we've been doing decent on. Also, just want to call out a few player specific things. Very surprising for me to see that Brandon Ingram, who has the most minutes played on this team, is a minus 14.8 on off. It's a bottom 5 percentile on off. Yeah, pretty surprising. I think some of that has to do with his assist to turnover ratio. He's averaging 3.8 assists a game with only 3 turnovers, or with 3 turnovers. So close to that, like 1-to-1, not great. He is at 21.5 points a game with 5.8 assists, so decent there. Scotty Barnes has the second most minutes on this team with a plus 1.6 on off. He's averaging 19.7 points a game, 7.8 rebounds, 5.3 assists, with an impressive 1.4 steals and 1.6 blocks a game. So he's getting up the stocks playing against teams. He's a strong defender, a good defender, and has been, from what I've been hearing, I haven't watched all that many Raptors games. I've watched like two, having himself a pretty good season. And then the kind of just looking at the other players who have less minutes, limited minutes here, but have higher plus minuses that have been sticking out with enough minutes that it kind of matters. Jamal Sheed with plus 7.7, Grady Dick plus 17.7, and Mamu is a plus 6.9. Sheed has a great assist to turnover ratio, 5.2 assists to 1.2 turnovers a game. So, pretty good on the playmaking there. He's a young player, with room for growth, which is exciting if I'm the Raptors. And then Grady Dick surprisingly has a larger impact on D, in terms of like the lineups perform better on defense when he's been in them. And I don't know if that's necessarily from him. Again, I haven't watched that many Toronto Raptors games, or if it's just a feature, or a bug rather, not a feature. And he hasn't really been shooting all that well. The only places he's really been hitting his shots from at a high clip is from the long mid range and from the corner three. Mamu, who is a stronger, bigger big. His per 36 numbers are great. He doesn't play the most minutes a game, but he's been shooting 36.8, nearly 37% from three. Not necessarily a great rebounder, but apparently he's been giving them good minutes. So I'm excited to see how this goes in terms of these two transition teams facing off against each other. With the fact that they allow a lot of rim attempts and a lot of corner threes, I'm looking forward to this game, in the sense of, I think Bam, I can milk or wine this. I think Bam is going to maybe hit some corner threes. He's been cold from three in the last couple games. So, attacking the rim and spraying out to the corners. Maybe Kalel, if he gets some minutes here, can hit a few corner threes as well. But also, yeah, I'm hoping that them allowing rim attempts and corner threes means our offense, which features a lot of drive and kicking when it's working well, works, and is, giving us good possessions there. They don't necessarily have, again, I don't watch the most Raptors games, but when I think of their roster, they don't have a lot of on-ball defenders that I'm necessarily super fearful of, aside from maybe OG, who I know is, I'm sorry, not OG, Scotty Barnes, who is, I'm assuming is a pretty good defender just based on his size, based on his speed. But we'll see. We will see how it works. The Heat like to give up a lot of threes, so we might force them into taking some, and they have some decent shooters over there, even though they don't necessarily like to take threes. It's going to be a lot of running, so I'm hoping that we're both healthy, especially hoping that the Heat are healthy, so that we can actually defend in transition as well as play in transition a lot. It'll be it'll be a fist fight for sure. A couple random things I do want to mention just before getting out of here, just because I haven't spoken about some of these things. There continues to be smoke about Giannis coming to the Heat. Sam Amick believes it's the most likely destination. Chris Haynes has been talking about how he wants Sun, and he wants to be on a contender, but emphasized Sun over it, and also mentioned how he doesn't think the Spurs are interested. So there's just a lot of smoke going around. I'm not going to be too excited about this because, if it's real, it's real. And when it happens, I'll cheer. Until it happens, I will wait and just cheer for the team we currently have. And then, just absolutely last, but, on this pod, and just weird to even talk about, but there's been a lot of Twitter jokes about Bam and Aja, and in good fun, that when they have a kid one day, because Aja has had some recent comments saying she wants to have children with Bam one day, that when they have a kid, oh, that kid's going to be one of the best players in the NBA or in the WNBA, whatever the case may be. But it's like Twitter jokes from like anonymous Twitter people. But Rachel Nichols, and it was like added via All the Smoke. So I don't know if this was like a question from them to Rachel Nichols. I don't know. But Rachel Nichols asked SGA if Sam Presti is going to be scouting Bam and Aja's future kid, like from when he gets pregnant. He answered the question, which I thought was weird, but also like not going to put the blame on him. I think that's just a weird question to ask. Like, it's one thing for it to be Twitter jokes. It's another thing for Rachel Nichols, like a spokesperson for the league, asking a player about this. And Bam and Aja commented on it and kind of felt it was weird and felt like it was an invasion of their privacy. And it totally was. Like, again, jokes are jokes, but like asking it as an interview topic to a player from a different team too, like you're not even asking. It would almost be more okay if you asked Bam about it, or Aja, but yeah, just very, very weird to see that. And that was definitely something ugly from the week that happened. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up all the stuff that I wanted to talk about here, Burnout. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Appreciate you listening. We'll be recording again either Wednesday night or Thursday morning to cover that. I don't even know if there's another Heat game prior to the next time I'll record. So let's see real quick just to make sure. No, I think they said the Heat game is Thursday. So when I record Wednesday, we'll be previewing a couple games, since there's going to be that Heat road trip in which they play the Nets, the Celtics, and the Knicks, all from Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So all those games will happen before the next time I record, which will be either Sunday night or Monday morning. So we'll be previewing all those games a little bit, talking about it, and then hopefully we'll have some fun league-wide stuff. We do have the NBA Cup tournament finale, the championship game being played Tuesday night, so I'm sure we'll be discussing that a bit. But thank you all. We're out.